Yo, welcome back to the Interstellar Audio Podcast. Today is the first episode of 2025, and I'm excited to get into a chat later on with Decaz from Empathy Audio. Just before we get into that though, I thought I'd give you a quick roundup of things that are going on for IA right now. The first release of the year came out recently, Bleen and Block with The Descent and Hostility. That one made it all the way up to number 16 in the Juno Singles D&B chart, which is awesome. Huge love to Bleen and Block. Hope they're both doing great. Hope you enjoyed that record if you've played it, and if you've listened to it, thank you for your support. We also had our first event of the year. Took a small crew down to Baby M in Derby, put on a free thing to beat the January blues. It was nice to catch up with everyone after a bit of time away, get things in gear, ready for the year ahead. We've got some huge plans coming for the rest of the year. Starting off with our next release, which comes out on the 7th of February. That's from Mindloader. 2 tracks, which are absolutely stunning. Something a little bit different, something a bit special. I hope you like those ones when they come out. I'll put the pre-links in the description to this one, and you should be able to catch it now. And on the event side of things, of course, March 7th is Kino Music X Interstellar Audio at Hidden Warehouse in Nottingham. The support on that one's been amazing, and there's less than 100 tickets now. It'd be great to see you there. It's going to be a big crew there already. It'd be good to get everybody together. And we've just put on sale the pre-release tickets for May 10th at Secret Garden in Nottingham, which will have Telomic headlining. Full announcement of the lineup hasn't been out yet, but we're going to be bringing together 4 brands from across Europe, each showcasing their signature style, and then we'll have the mighty Telomic to headline. You can get the early bird tickets for that one now. There'll be a link in the description. And then beyond that, as we move into June, we're starting to look at festival seasons. Our good friends over at Mountain Base have just announced the dates for Mountain Base 3.0. That's the 9th to the 13th of June over in Spain. Head over to their socials and sign up at the link, and they will let you know as soon as the tickets go on sale there. But as always, for anything related to Interstellar Audio, head over to www.interstellaraudio.co.uk. You can find the latest music, the latest events, the latest news, the latest merch. It'll all be there. So without further ado, fill up your brew and get comfortable, because for the next 60 to 90 minutes, you're tuned in to the Interstellar Audio Podcast. Okay, so George, thank you for joining me, man. I hope things are good for you. Just in case there's people out here that don't know who you are, tell me a little bit about who you are, both as a person, as a DJ, as a producer, and also as your projects that you're involved with.
Yeah, so I'm George. I'm from Austria. I go by the name Decaz as my artist name. I do run loads of different projects over here in Austria. Mostly are community-based. Some are international, like Empathy Audio, my label. I run together with a couple friends. Originally founded by me and Nico Apollo, very talented producer. And most of the guys I work with, usually from the surrounding villages. So yeah, we have a pretty nice community around here in Austria, especially in Tyrol. Very lovely. And that's where I'm from. I'm a producer, DJ, event promoter. I basically do everything. And I love drum and bass.
Wicked, man. Well, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for giving up your Sunday evening to chat with me.
Easy.
Obviously, I came across you through the Empathy Audio project, and really been enjoying receiving that music to play on the shows and in the sets and things like that. You guys have got like a really good signature sound, and I think something you do really well is like showcase that Austrian sound.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about what that sound means and what the sort of community is like behind that sound.
Okay, so usually I have like a direction I want to go with music, but with Empathy Audio it was kind of like the opposite. We started out as releasing like very different styles. Like at the start of it, there was like that melodic liquid, and then we progressed onto dubstep, jungle, and then we signed the first single from Dub10. Most of you probably or hopefully know Dub10. And this changed our trajectory a little bit. Like we got deeper into like the overview sound, like the deep liquid, the minimal drum and bass. And yeah, we kind of went with the flow because things were looking good when we released the first minimal tune. So we kind of stuck with that. We still try to keep it like diverse. We try to get every subgenre, every style on the label. And yeah, we're doing pretty good, I guess. Like I love how the direction that the label is going. Sometimes I struggle with like A&Ring. Like that's the hardest part, but it works out.
So how long's the project been going for?
We started out in, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was April, May 2022. So it's our 3rd year now. And it usually started out as an idea I had with Nico Apollo, because I kind of like, I want to do a label. And then I searched around for people to do it with, and Nico's been a longtime friend of mine. Like we've been known each other now for I think 10 years. And he started producing like in 2022 or something like that. And he started making big tunes. So I wanted to give him like sort of a opportunity to get it released properly, because he just did it via DistroKit at the start. So we did the label, and I think the first tune already got like 30K streams in 3 months or something like that. And that was the start of it. Yeah.
A solid start. So how did you find the journey of actually starting the label? When people ask me how do I start a label, my advice is always like, just pick a distributor and figure out what their application criteria are. Did you have did you have a journey like that, or were there any things you figured out that you needed to do beforehand that were fun or difficult?
Man, if I would have known more about running a label, I would have done it completely different. Like we started out releasing via DistroKit, which was the worst thing we could have done as a label. But thanks to the guy from Incursion Audio, his name was Zach, he CC'd me on an email with Cygnus Music and just said, yeah, I will introduce you to Cygnus Music. You got to get a proper distributor, you know? And that's when, like, that was the third release I think we did on DistroKit. And from then on, we switched to Cygnus Music. And that was like when things got easier, basically. Like Cygnus is such a great support. They have the great support. They have a balanced revenue payout. Like they don't charge too much. And I would probably tell everyone who starts a label, pick a good distributor. Like that's the main
100%
thing.
agree. 100% agree. Cygnus were our way. Cygnus were our way in as well. It's definitely the right answer.
And most of the labels run Cygnus or Label Engine.
Yeah,
that's what I figured. Some do Triple Vision, but I think they're all good in their own way. We stuck with Cygnus because it's been nice.
Yeah, they've been really good for us, at least with that link with Beatport, where they're able to kind of help you get features and so on with Beatport, which is super helpful. And I see you guys' releases up there quite a lot on that page as well, so that's obviously working out for you.
Yeah, it works nicely, man. Like we do it different. We don't really release much streaming music, so we rely on Beatport, and having like good connection to Beatport is so important for us. Like we do know someone from Beatport, and that's been helping us ever since.
Oh, nice. That's a good link to have. So you say that most of your music's not aimed at streaming. So are you deliberately like targeting more DJ friendly music then? Is that your goal?
Yeah. If we do like EPs, we try to get some listening tunes in there, but mostly it's like club focused. And we've been shifting away from the liquid slowly and steady, but I want to bring it back into a little bit more. I love liquid. I run a liquid drum and bass platform, Soulform Music. And that's been my output for creating like a liquid community.
So I was going to ask you about Soulform. Is that the passion project on the side because you have that love for liquid, and what's the kind of vision for that project? Where do you want to take that to?
I don't really have a vision for it, to be honest. I just always like when I started out listening to drum and bass, I listened to Liquidity, I listened to Mr. Suicide Sheep, all these YouTube channels. And I kind of wanted to do something similar with that, like just a channel where people can listen to liquid drum and bass. That was the project at the start. But now I'm doing events. Like I start with my debut event in March in Innsbruck here, and we will see where it goes from there.
Good luck. It takes a lot of balls to put a liquid event on. I found that liquid events are the hardest thing to sell.
Yeah.
How are you finding it so far?
We did a liquid night with Empathy Audio. I think it was like 2 years ago, or 1.5 years ago, in a small club in Innsbruck with it's a good sound system. It's nothing special, but it's good. And to my surprise, the whole evening it was like pretty stacked, and people played very slowly, and like the proper dancey stuff. It worked out, so I'm pretty easy on that. I don't worry too much.
So were you surprised by how many people in Innsbruck were up for liquid? Is it popular there, or is it?
That's the club we play there. It's in the Bögen. It's like a street where there's clubs, you know, like 10 clubs in a row. And sometimes people just gander around in front of the clubs, and then someone says, yeah, the music's good inside, go in. And then there's like 10 people coming in. And I think they kind of stayed because it was a nice vibe in there. Usually it can go good or it can go really bad in the club. Like you can have 250 people a night fully stacking out the dance floor for 7 hours straight, and you can have like 10 people in there whole night. So I guess it kind of depends. There was an easier time for promoting events. It was like right after Corona lockdown finally got away, and we had like, man, every party that was like sold out, basically, we did. So like people lost interest in clubbing. They only go to big events nowadays. So it's kind of hard to get people.
So that's true here. That's true in the UK as well. I didn't realize that was true over in Austria.
I think it's everywhere, to be honest. Like outside of the clubbing cities, you know, like London and Vienna, Berlin. I think people go to clubs there because it's the clubbing cities. But apart from that, I think clubbing has gone down.
Yeah, so just bigger events now, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, bigger events work here as well, so figure that's big events for now.
Yeah. So what's on the cards for this year for both of those projects? What you've mentioned an event for Soulform. What else have you got in the plan for Empathy and Soulform as well?
Okay, so actually Soulform's making like the first party. We had a DJ set like in December, which we're gonna do more often, like a Soulform collective thing. There's a couple people involved with Soulform, like not in a working way, but more in like a community way. So I tried to get them to play as a Soulform showcase. We do have a tour planned with Empathy, which I'm working at the moment, getting more.
That's exciting.
More like label showcases around in Europe and stuff. And yeah, we do have loads of good releases signed already for Empathy. So that's nice. That's good because I usually worry when there's not much going on. I like it when I have a schedule filled up with bangers and I don't have to worry about anything except for marketing.
How far along is your schedule right now?
I think it's July.
Nice.
So
nice.
July is like finished already mostly. And we have some people who sent demos for the next couple of months.
I'm in the same place, and it's good to be slightly ahead like that. It definitely feels good to know what you've got coming out and like understand what the level of the work is that's going on this year and be able to kind of plan around it. I think that's helpful. Like this time last year, I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen for the rest of the year, and it's definitely a much more comfortable position this year. So it's good to hear you guys are in the same sort of situation.
Yeah, it was hard to get there, but we're doing good. We got some like label regulars, which are sending music through every couple of weeks, months, and usually we pick up on this very early on.
How do you balance that thing between like people that are in the camp and then new people that you want to come across, or also like up and coming people that come to you as well? How do you balance making sure you make space for everybody?
We didn't really have that problem yet, like finding space for releases. Usually if I like something, I don't really care from who or which guy it is or whatever it is, who's sending music to us. We try to like sign music that we like. So if someone sends music through we like, I'm just gonna give him a release date as soon as possible if he sends me like a full project.
So is it like you and Nico both kind of A&R together and figure out what tunes to take, or is it mostly you?
Actually, it's Nico and me was like the founding guys of Empathy Audio. We had recruited K-Sonic, like Consi, and Dapten, Gap, to the label, so we all do A&R.
Nice.
Also, we split the workload from Empathy onto like quarters, so everyone has like the same workload, so that's nice. Most people don't know we are 4 at Empathy Audio now because it's mostly just me hopping in front of the camera. And the guys are like in the background working, so gotta give a shout out to them too.
Yeah, of course, and they all make great music as well. So credit to you guys for getting together as a collective.
We
Yeah,
picked up on Gap because he was going to apprenticeship school with a friend of mine, Vortex. He's also a producer from Austria. And we have been running a collective for a long time called Resonate Records. And once like Karim told me, Vortex, that I should play back to back with this new guy. And the new guy was in fact Dapton. And I didn't know him. I didn't even know his name at the time. We stood behind the decks plugging our USBs in. So we just looked at each other. Yeah, nice one. So we kind of figured out that we have the same style, like the same liking in styles. And we just played 1.5 hours back to back, like was beautiful. And then he told me he's a producer, and I just started Empathy Audio, so told him to send some music over. The rest is history, I guess.
yeah. I think the first Empathy release that really caught my attention was his track "Haunted," because I just really liked the way he used the space in that sample. Even though that sample's been around a bit, like he used the space in that sample to build a really cool tune. I played that tune so much for a long time.
Yeah. I really love LEP. I really love
Yeah,
it.
it's super good. And that like, then his name stood out to me from then on, and then everything that you guys have put out since then has been absolutely banging. Probably stuff before was as well, but I wasn't as up to speed on it. So it's nice to see you guys grow. I know you've done some collaborative stuff too with people like Yamatai, and I think last summer was it? You guys filmed some stuff out there in the mountains near where you live. I know you guys are blessed with a landscape around there. Like, tell me a bit about that project and how that came about.
Okay, so James Yamatai, I've met him, I think like during online conversations, like we used to chat, and then some kind of friendship evolved from this. And I thought I really like what they're doing. They've been my favorite upcoming label so far, basically. So we had an opportunity to host an event at Queen's Club. It's like a bigger club here in Innsbruck. So I figured I might as well just get them over here. And that worked out really good. We had a nice weekend. Like they spent 3 days here, I think. So we did like loads of stuff. I drove them up the mountain, showed them around, and then we searched for that spot, recorded the video. I showed them my favorite Austrian food, and that was it basically. Yeah. Lovely weekend.
That sounds like a cool weekend.
Yeah.
Yamatai they're definitely a strong label. They're like full package is good, right? They've got the music, they've got the community, they've got the look, they've got the vibe. Like they were one of the labels that I first saw doing. They've got like a real good brand style. Like everything links in with the name and with the logo and everything like that. And like all their merch designs are amazing as well. They're definitely a good inspiration for labels, I think, that are coming through. Just kind of see what the package is that's needed.
I have to tell something about Yamatai because it's pretty funny. I actually followed them since they started doing guest mixes, like who knows, 2020 or something like that. And I actually sent them a guest mix when I started DJing, and they didn't respond to me. And I told James that when I got him to Austria, and he was, oh no mate, sorry, no. Yeah, I was like, no, never mind. I was like trying to do everything when I started DJing. So
have you not been DJing that long then?
I started in 2019 with like a 2-deck controller, because me and my friend went to so many raves, and we were like big fans of the like jump up stuff, like Kings of the Rollers. Yeah. And after that Kings of the Rollers set in Heidelberg, we were like, yeah, let's go, let's buy a deck. And I bought the deck, and I said, yeah, let's split the bill in half. And he never gave me the half of the bill, and he never started DJing either. he never started DJing either. So I was there alone with my 2-deck setup in lockdown. Like at first it was 2019, like pre-lockdown, the summer pre-lockdown. And then I bought a like 4-deck controller, and I was there stuck in lockdown, blending and doing stuff on my own, which was like, kind of depressing, to be honest.
They are, but good for development though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I started DJing there, and like in 2-3 months, I was like fucking banging out sets with the sickest doubles, and I did nothing else. Like I was just there fucking DJing, because when I was in lockdown, I actually worked as a paramedic. It's like a duty in Austria to make 9 months paramedic or 6 months army. And I started right when the lockdown hit, and they couldn't get me into my school, like in the paramedic school. So I was just sitting at home doing nothing, getting paid for doing nothing, and I was just like DJing every day, 7 hours straight.
And so, in a way, we've got lockdown to thank for Empathy Audio now, which is cool.
Yeah, it was definitely a lockdown project a little bit, like everything, like Resonate. I don't know if you know Resonate Records, my other
Yeah, a little
project.
bit, yeah.
Yeah, we actually met like 3 weeks before lockdown. It was February 22. No, not February 22, February 2020.
Yeah.
It was like a month before lockdown, and we met like, yeah, fully motivated. Let's make some parties. Then we had like flyer and everything ready, and they just did a lockdown. Like I think 2 weeks before we had our debut event. And yeah, then we had like time to focus on figuring out how to do it. And then we just started with a bang, and yeah, it kind of was good because we never really had any parties which did not sell out at the start. Like I think 1.5 years into the promoting thing, we never had a party less than sold out.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I did a party on Friday night with 30 people. So, yeah, that's a good start from you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a problem. We do have that problem now. Like we had such high expectations of playing to people, always playing to a full room. I don't think I've played to an empty room like 2 years into my DJ career. And then like reality hit, and then I was like, nah, this can't be. Is it me? Or is it me? I'm DJing wrong or something like that. But it was just like how things go.
Yeah, it's just how it is. Yeah. So how did you make your way into like getting sets and stuff like that? Were your first sets your own parties, or did you get bookings through other people?
Yeah, my first sets were always at the first parties, and I kind of always had a thing with Instagramming, like social media presence. And we did some parties, and I was always the guy telling my friends, yeah, do some clips and film me and do this and do that. And I uploaded it to Instagram and made a smart move to connect with like some clubs which freshly opened up after lockdown. I played at their sets, played sets at their clubs, and people enjoyed it. And it was like they didn't care what I would play at the club. Like I could play anything. I can't do that anymore. I could play anything, and people were fucking dancing, losing their mind all the time. So yeah, I kind of built a reputation as like a good versatile DJ, which was not too common here in Austria because people usually follow a style, whether it be jump up, neurofunk, liquid, deep, whatever. So I was kind of the guy who did it versatile together with the collective, because everyone on the collective was so versatile from spinning different genres. And that's kind of why we got why we got into the scene really easy. Like good DJ sets, basically.
Yeah, and if you put the club in a place where the people are dancing and happy, then you're going to get booked, right? So that's not a bad place to be.
I kind of had like a lowdown with gigs last year. Was kind of because I tried to go away from it a little bit, like pick up the pace again. Like just doing 3 months of making sports. I like doing sports or anything else, like rather than DJing the summer. So I kind of slowed down with all the gigs, and that was like when I knew, okay, I do have motivation, or like new motivation. I started in with a fresh mind, and now it's going good again. But that was like last year, that was a very rough time for music. I also like quit Empathy for a couple months, let Gap and Consi and Nico do all the stuff. That was the best decision I ever made, because I don't think I would be doing music now if I didn't stop at the right time.
So are you sort of saying you needed a break to realize that you enjoyed it?
Yeah. I kind of had to step back from it a little bit. Like it was getting too much. Like I've played to 3 empty rooms in like 3 different regions of Austria. And then from the last one, I drove home with a couple friends, sit in the car, like, nah, I have to stop now. I have to like take a step back and find the love again for it. So that's what I did, and it worked out. It worked out perfectly fine.
Good decision to do that. So
Yeah.
away from the music, what do you get up to? What do you enjoy in life away from the music? I see you were skiing today.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
snowboarding. I'm skateboarding. I used to ride downhill mountain bikes professionally, like sponsored.
Mm.
Um, until I found DJing. Like until I found DJing is my bigger passion now. I still do ride bikes every summer for a shitload of days, but
Yeah.
it's just not my focus anymore. I quit all my sponsors when I opened up Empathy. I just wrote them an email, so yeah, sadly I'm not gonna be writing for you guys anymore because I am following music now. And every single manager, like every single brand manager or marketing manager, just answered me, yeah, send me a link to your SoundCloud. That was pretty fun.
That's cool. That's awesome.
But yeah, it's been good to step away from biking. I have done that for the past 10 years now.
Mm.
And yeah, I kind of needed some new stuff to pursue, and that's been music for me.
So if you were doing that sponsored sports stuff, I'm going to assume you were somebody that already had some experience and some skills in like marketing, social media marketing, because you have to, if you're sponsored, you've got to make sure that people are seeing the sponsorships, right? So did you have a presence before that? Did that give you any skills that you found useful when you were starting the music thing?
Definitely. When I started out riding bikes, when I was 12 years old, I was mountain biking with my friend. And I was always the guy taking pictures. And I was always the guy like filming stuff, taking pictures and getting memories in there. And I think that kind of was my thing when I found out that you can actually get a big following on Instagram with doing stupid shit on a mountain bike. So
yeah,
I did have a good YouTube channel. I think it was like 1,800 subs, and I had an Instagram with like 3.5K, and they were active. Like I had 700 likes averaging on posts, 700 to 800 likes, and sponsors loved that. That I didn't have that much of a following, but the followers were active and engaging with me. That's probably why I've wrote for all these brands. I wrote for Etnies shoes. If that says you something. Yeah, I wrote for them like 1 year, which was nice because I got skateboarding shoes for riding a mountain
shoes, right? Yeah. No, I'd be down for that too. Do you think that that's probably something that is, like you mentioned about you're the guy with the camera and you're the guy taking pictures and stuff. Do you think that that's like one of the most important things in the music scene as well, is to always be having somebody take pictures, or what do you think the difference is?
Not necessarily, but I think nowadays you gotta just capture your music, you gotta have press pics for a release. You gotta have videos of your tunes getting played. You gotta have videos of your gigs being played. You gotta have like a press kit to send to other promoters to look professional. So I think it's a big part. Although I would love to see music being the meaning of what you're doing, not the press kit, not the pictures or the videos of you DJing, but rather than what you're actually DJing. The whole set should be. I loved it when there was like promo mixes going around. You sent your mix to a promoter, he listened to it, he liked it, he let you play. But that disappeared as soon as I got into the music scene. Like I had a promo mix for my first year of DJing. I've never done a new promo mix. It was always like, how much Instagram following do you have? And yeah.
That's interesting. Because I think that the music industry has always been like that, right? Because if you look at pop, anyone that's ever been big it's always been about image as much as it's been about the music, and that's just kind of trickled down to the underground scene now as well. Like I do agree with you. If you could just pick music and people would buy it because they like it rather than who it's by or stuff like that, then that would be helpful too. But I get it. You have to build a brand. It makes sense.
Yeah. It's kind of hard, man. I sometimes just want to be appreciated for the music I play and not for the videos I have or for like the following I have. But yeah, I guess it kind of is like that right now, and you got to go with the flow, and maybe it gets better. Maybe we get like the great resurgence of the underground and everyone's going to small clubs again. Like I'm working towards that. I'm trying to work towards that, definitely.
So you mentioned Empathy Tour. Like how does something like that come about? So you're going to do some label showcases in various cities around Europe. Like how do you put that together?
Um, I'm still trying to figure that out. I have loads of artists like from around the area, like France, Belgium, Germany, who all know clubs or promoters. So first of all, I'm trying to do it directly or for the artist. Like I say, yeah, my friend from France can play at your event and we can come for a cheap rate too. And then they usually say, yeah, what are you doing? What are you guys doing? I sent them the label. I show them like proof of us doing big stuff. And usually they respond with like, yeah, I'm down. Let's do it.
Mm. Yeah, that's cool. That's a good idea because you're then giving all of your artists that are spread out an opportunity to showcase themselves using brand power to leverage that. That's a really good label offering. I like that a lot. Taking notes, obviously, me over here.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I have like a sheet where I write down all the promoters I see on Instagram. Like if I see a new promoter in Instagram, I just hop into my notes and write them down. Like there's every promoter in Central Europe on there, I guess.
Yeah.
So I know where to write. I know where to write them up, like where to hit them up.
What's festival culture like in Central Europe? Is that a thing that you're like working towards with the brand as well, or is that a different vibe?
I know a friend of mine is doing a festival again this year near Vienna. And they did it last year. I think they're just trying to sort of build up a community around the festival. But from what I saw, it's pretty hard to do it like that. We had some big festivals in Austria. One of them was the New Forms Festival. I don't have the lineup in mind, but it was curated by Carmen Crook back in 2017. And that was everyone playing on there. There was like Skeptical Break. There was a Critical Sound System on there, or like Neuro headliners. There were Dance Flat and a Sub Focus played there. Carmen Crook played a set, Matthews and all these guys. Like it was big. It was like the same as Let It Roll is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bit smaller, but lineup is comparable. Definitely.
Because that's the thing over here. Like people get to the position where their next logical step is to get festival stage bookings and stuff like that. And that's just a huge undertaking, right? So yeah, I just wondered if it was similar in your environment too.
It's hard in Europe because there's not many festivals. There's Liquidity, obviously. And then there's Liquidity, there's Let It Roll, and that's about it. Like there's a couple of underground festivals who play like very like Detroit techno stuff and stuff like that, like techno breakbeats and stuff. Outlook. There's Exit Festival in Romania or something like that, or Slovenia, and they all have like very mixed lineups, so you don't really get booked to them as a small label, small DJ. But yeah, there's like two festivals which I can imagine playing, and that's Liquidity or Let It Roll, but it's so hard to get the hold.
Today's episode of the Interstellar Audio Podcast is sponsored by Filthy, threads for the scene and by the scene. If you want to get your hands on some of the 3D puff embroidered caps, hoodies, beanies and t-shirts and more, head over to www.filthyuk.com. Use code Interstellar at checkout for 10% off. Huge love to the guys over at Filthy. Let's get back to the chat. So, just like sideways a little bit, you seem like somebody who's very busy with a lot of projects, right? You've already mentioned 3. You've got a 4th one as well. Is it called In Motion or something like that?
Yeah, In Motion is like a collaborative thing. It's not too much work. So
my question was going to be something along the lines of like, what is it about having a lot of projects going on? How come you've got so many projects going on? What is it about you that makes that the way you want to operate?
The many projects come from, like when I started out, we had Resonate Records, and the boys from Resonate, they are very like artsy and they want to have their own artists, like they want to grow their own artist. And Resonate was always like a friendship thing. We did parties together because we love doing parties, but we never really took that step further, like we never really took it to the next step. So I just figured out, okay, if you guys don't want to do a label with me, I'm going to do it on my own. From then on, there was like Empathy. Then Empathy started getting like more dark and minimal. And I was like, okay, I need something for Liquid. Then I had Liquid, promoted as Soul Form. Then In Motion was like a collaborative thing between 4 crews from Austria, like from Tyrol, which wanted to make like deep underground sounding club nights in Innsbruck. There's like loads of people involved. I think there's a WhatsApp group with like 30 people actively doing stuff with it. And yeah, that was about it. I was always open to new projects.
I'm scared to ask it, but have you got other new project ideas that you're like trying to form up? You definitely seem like that kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
I know you're thinking about something else.
Okay, there's some exclusive insight going on now. So we did like that Empathy and Resonate party at the music hall in Innsbruck, which is a huge venue. It's like 700 people or something like that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, cool.
And since Resonate is not really active anymore in promoting parties, I figured I'd just take the brand we built at this party, make an own brand out of it, and promote big drum and bass parties like with big headliners. And that's starting this autumn. So yeah, a very costly thing to do. But if the first one goes well, what stops me?
So how are you like bankrolling all that then? Because that's a big investment. Like, what's your secret? What are you doing to make that work out?
I work 4 days a week, which helps a lot because I have usually 1 day off to do like all the work stuff. I organize myself, like I write down stuff. I have like a to-do list, and that makes work way easier to finish if you just know what you have to do on every day. I do have a like balanced life with doing lots of sports, and I'm usually motivated to do stuff, so I don't really lay around too much. I'm at my desktop like all night when I come home from work, so I just try to always remind myself of that time I had that. I don't know if it was like a near burnout experience, but it definitely felt like it. So I'm always trying to not get into that place again. So if work gets too much, I just try to ask all my friends to help out and take some of the load off me.
Go more into that. Like, what's your tips for that? Because I know that so many creative people or people that are working in the creative industry struggle with that. We all get to the point where we're smashing it, and then you just inevitably hit a wall. You know, what's your tips for people to either avoid that or how to deal with it when they get there?
So as a label owner, I would probably say don't compare yourself too much. Like, comparing yourself's the worst. If you're going into the Beatport charts and you're not in there with a new release or something like that, like it sucks. Definitely, it's not good. I don't want to say that it should be like it shouldn't bother you, but definitely don't compare yourself to other labels. Don't compare yourself to anyone, even as a producer, as a DJ. You're doing your own like kind of way. Definitely look how other people do it, but don't compare yourself if the results are varying. And yeah, try to always, when you're in a bad spot, when you're feeling like there's nothing like going forward, just try to go out, take a walk, clear your head, listen to something else than drum and bass or whatever you're doing. Get a clear head and then return back to work whenever you feel ready. So don't force yourself into working. Don't force yourself into writing tunes.
Yeah, man, I fully agree with that. Right? If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. I kind of you repeat that mantra quite a lot, and you know, like you, I live in a pretty nice landscape, and getting outdoors helps me a lot. Like I said to you a bit ago that I spent a small amount of time not far from where you guys are based, and so I kind of know how amazing it is around your way. Like, do you have plans to do stuff making use of the landscape? Obviously, we talk about like club nights, but do you have plans where you'd like to make use of your environment as well for the music?
Yeah, we do have a plan of like doing a mini festival with locals. That's not really finished yet, and we are not sure if we're even doing it. But it's like by the river Inn. There's a big river in like Innsbruck. It flows through Innsbruck, and there's like a nice space where there's like some surfing going on. It's like some small wave surfing, and the owner of that place rents it out for some people to use in summer. And we're trying to make a party there. It's like very naturally inspired. It's like near a river with like mountains all around it and a nice forest. So
that sounds amazing, man.
That's what we want to do. And I also want to throw an outdoor party next year somewhere. I still don't have a location, but we have like skate parks, and I'm good with the mayor in my village, so we're trying to make that work as well. Yeah, I usually, when I do edits, like mountain bike video edits, I usually use drum and bass because I love it. So yeah, I do try to push it with my other accounts as well, like with the sports account I have.
So you're trying to think you'd be able to bring those brands from that side into the music side as well, and hopefully get them on board. Is that part of your thinking? Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, probably getting people from my follower list, like from the guys who follow me for mountain biking, also into drum and bass, which worked out pretty well. Because still there's so many people from like races I've done, like mountain bike races I've done back in the day, who are just randomly pulling up to a drum and bass night I'm hosting and telling me, "Hey, yo, George, what are you doing here?" And they say, "Yeah, I'm DJ now." "Oh, sick, yeah." Yeah, because lots of people got into like drum and bass because of some Instagram edits, like some mountain bike edits or something like that, because people love drum and bass in that scene, especially because of like some UK people.
The scene getting bigger in Austria at the moment then?
Yeah, we do have some young guns who visited our parties as their first parties back in like 2020, 2021. And they're all DJs now. They just did their own first parties and stuff, and they started out listening to drum and bass because they walked into that door on our first club night. So that's cool to see. We're growing a scene. Like it seemed impossible at some point, but I think we're doing good so far.
Well, all the music that's coming from Austrian artists is all super good. So
yeah, Austria is like the hornet's nest of producers. They're everywhere.
At the moment, yeah.
I could give you such a list. Like there's people like Acris, there's Division, Dubten, Nico, Apollo. There's like in Vienna, there's a couple of talented producers. I know of a guy like Kate. There's Wings, obviously. We have Carbon Crooked. We have Fentix. We have Geostatic. We have Merkel. We have so many people in here, man. There's like, sorry if I forgot anyone, but there's like so many people in Austria smashing it right now.
Yeah, popular in the kind of in the side of the scene that you and I are fond of. There's definitely a big, a lot of Austrian people in that side of the scene as well, which is nice to see.
And I hope they're breaking out to be bigger. So I hope they're breaking through, getting their big tunes signed and stuff. So I really hope it goes like that, because that's exactly what pushed the scene in Austria. Like Cayman Crooked getting famous was the biggest thing for Austrian drum and bass, I think. The influence they have on like the generation in my age, like 25 around that, it's like brutal. Like everyone knows their old Cayman Crooked tunes. And when I play them at the rave, usually there's some people singing the melodies along, like the 2012 Cayman Crooked tunes. Yeah, you can feel that impact still.
And what about you on the production side? You working on music as well?
Yeah, loads. I do have an EP forthcoming on Celsius Recordings.
Congratulations.
A couple of tunes with my good friend Utah. A remix for Abyssal Music. What else? I have something coming on Beats in Mind, Headspace. And I have a tune coming out on a Celsius VA also. I still don't have the release date yet, but they're signed. So
a busy year for you then this year.
Yeah, loads of music coming, and I love it because I have been producing for like years now. Not like consistently, but I always picked it up again when I was not that busy with throwing parties. I'm happy that it finally works out, because I was doubting myself so hard for a very, very long time. Yeah.
Do you think there's something that's made the difference, that's made your music all of a sudden start to get picked up?
I think it took some time till I got like the right mind for producing. Like at the start, I always thought like, okay, I used that piano sample. I shouldn't use piano samples now. I just got in a mind state where I know that you can use a sample if you use it right, and you can do whatever with your music as long as it sounds good. So that's something I needed to hear. That's something I definitely needed to hear.
Have you got any people that you've like worked with that have been helpful to figure out producing and stuff like that as well, like collaborators?
I mean, I have so many people around me who are like very good producers. So they usually give me tips and help me finishing something or tell me what's wrong with my mix. I don't think everyone has that, so I'm pretty grateful to have like guidance all the way through.
Yeah, from like the camp around the label and friends.
Yeah, definitely.
And stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Super
also
helpful.
funny because like so many people around here live in a very close area. Like Utah lives like 30 minutes away from me. Danny lives 20 minutes away from me. Then Nico lives 5 minutes away from me. Apollo Nico. Dubten lives an hour away. There's people in Innsbruck producing, and I think it's nice to just meet them up and do a collab in real life and learn from them.
So they're like spaces that you guys can go and meet up, or do you rely on like each other's personal areas, or that is there like a sort of like a Pirate Studios type equivalent, like where there's places you can go and like collectively meet up?
Nah, there's nothing in here basically. Like we don't have anything like Pirate Studio. A friend of mine rented out a small room, put the studio in there, but that was it. He doesn't have it anymore. So we usually just hang out at Nico's place or go to Danny's place. It's like all flats with like a small studio in there, and that's where we do our music.
Empathy Writers Camp almost, but just
Oh yeah,
yeah.
we're trying. We're actually trying to do that in Vienna this year. Hopefully it works out.
What does that look like for you guys? Because for us, that would be like we get an Airbnb and each of us takes some equipment and then we try and figure out 2 or 3 setups while we're there for a weekend. Is that a kind of similar situation for you?
Actually, in Vienna, we would have a studio space. Nice. That would be nice. Yeah. We do know a couple people in Vienna, so basically no Airbnbs, just sleeping on the couch and probably doing fun stuff on the evening too. No beer
Yeah.
before like 8 or something, I would say is the rule. But after that, after that, we're gonna go out and have a fun and get to know each other better. Because from what I know, there's people coming over from all the way up, like Grintax is probably
Oh, it's
coming
great.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves a trip. Yeah.
And maybe we're getting the Frenchie Gregoire also on there.
Oh, look.
I mean, whoever's down, whoever's down for that, like
That sounds a good time.
yeah, like some team building stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, take the bikes up on the chairlifts as well during the day.
Yeah.
How does that work in the summer for you? Does the ski lift stay open and you can just take your bikes up there and things like that?
Yeah, most places have a bike park added up. So they have like the skiing season, they have like a fun park with like rails and kickers and all that stuff for the snowboarders and skiers. And in summer they just have their trails shaped on the mountain. And I'm usually always trying to do like in the summer I always try to go more outside than I do in winter. Usually that's where I do less music work than I normally do.
Less time. So you're out on the mountain today, but is that not generally the thing for you? If it's the winter, you're more focused on the music, and if it's the summer, you're more likely to be outside.
Yeah, I do love snowboarding, but I can't afford to go like any weekend. Like if I go like once in a month, I'm fine with that. So when I go mountain biking, I usually go every weekend, like 2 days, 3 days, whatever. So basically all the days I have off work, I'm going mountain biking.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, man. Yeah. We don't have we don't have a big mountain biking culture around here, but then again, our trails aren't quite on the same level as what you guys have got. So
I do know there's some guys called 50 to 1, 50 to 01, whatever. They're from like Wales region and they've pushed mountain biking so far with their YouTube edits. Like if any one of you guys are into mountain biking, go look up 50 to 01 and watch the biggest size of British pie video. That's like the best lottery you will have in your whole life. And they're always listening to like General Levy in their edits, which makes it more funny. Yeah.
yeah, quality throwbacks. Yeah. Have you got anything you wanted to talk about that I haven't made you talk about?
I think there's like something which I want to talk about because that's pretty important to me. And it's always been like, sometimes I see people when they have like stuff to do and they're like getting bigger and stuff. Usually they stop supporting each other too much. I see that happen like everywhere around the scene. And I'm trying to preach that everyone should support the guys who brought them up and stuff. If someone's helped you in an early stage in your career, don't give them up because they basically pushed you going that extra step to get big. I've seen that like bare times. It did not necessarily happen to me, but I've seen it like a shitload of times now. And that's something I get pissed off about.
No, I agree with you. And I think that you can see the communities where the people in the community do a really good job of protecting against that, right? So
yeah,
you can see the groups that stay true to their camp and they all go up together. Like maybe a good example is like Overview and Dan Clinical, right? Peter and Dan have worked together for such a long time.
Yeah, and
It
Waves
would have been
also,
successful
Waves.
anyway, right? Yeah, as well. And so you can see that community spirit come through, and that's part of why they're successful. So
Yeah.
I fully agree with you that it's important to kind of to keep those relationships going strong. And especially as well, because the music first, I think all of us have got into doing this because of the community, the collective thing around it. We had friends that we had shared interests with, and we wanted to spend times doing things we enjoyed together. And then if you just forget that that was what you were doing, and it ends up becoming about music releases or sets or whatever, then you forget about that friendship, which is shit, man. Like, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
It kind of happens because I think most of the time people are just like busy and they don't really find time, but I think that everyone should find time for like the people who there. Like if you were there for someone, I think you should be there for them when they need it too.
Fully agree, man. It's a very valid point.
I think that's something people don't want to talk about too much. I think like all the mental health stuff and the friendship situations. Like I know that music can destroy a whole lot of friendships. Like if you have like arguments and stuff and it gets like toxic and all that. I know it can destroy friendships, but yeah, there's that stuff. There's the negative side of music, you know, like it can always be like a bad situation or something like that, which destroys friendships. Yeah, like the pressure. I think it's the pressure of like some DJ trying to get big or some producer like trying to get big. If you're putting in the work and you don't really get something out of it, I think you're pissed all the time. Like I had that too when I was like DJing my ass off and I was like trying to get my first gig before I started the collective. I was always trying to like get to know people, talk with them, visit events and stuff. And I supported like so many people. Never actually someone listened to a mix of mine or something like that. I mean, nobody should be expected to do so, but some support at the start of my DJ career also would have been fine. But yeah, I guess I find out the hard way, and that's why I support everyone now. Like everyone who approaches me with like a positive mindset and some nice words, I try to support.
Do you try and pick those people out then? Do you try and like figure out from people who are the people that are likely to be more community focused and then try and work with them closer?
Yeah, I mean, I always was a guy, if I liked someone's mix, like people send me mixes all the time. And actually the people sending mixes, some of them are now my friends and they did get somewhere because I was always there like for some guidance. I told them, yeah, sick mix, but you gotta change that and do that. And I think they kind of listened to the advice they got, and now they're playing sets and doing very good. So I'm a firm believer in if you support someone, they're gonna support you back. Especially the guys who I've seen at our first parties and the guys who are now throwing their own first event. They booked me and they told me, yeah, when do you want to play? Like you want to play 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 or something? I'm gonna play the intro slot. You guys gotta have a good time. Like I don't care.
Good attitude, man.
Yeah,
good attitude.
And that's something why I like to support people. I like to give them good opportunities, and I don't mind if I just sit in the back watching them having a great time.
That's really elite, man. Yeah, because there definitely is like that when you create a lineup and you're involved in it as well. It always feels to me like the right thing to do is to play either first or dead last, because you want the other people around you to kind of have the opportunity to showcase themselves, right? There's nothing worse than making somebody else play an empty room. I might as well play an empty room. I've done it before. I'm happy to do it again. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that makes sense. And then hopefully those people push themselves on. If
someone has their first gig and they're playing to an empty room, that sucks. That probably gives them less motivation than playing to like a filled room with people dancing to their sets and stuff. I mean, it's always a hard one because if there's someone playing their first gig, you really want them to make like the main time slot. Do you know if they're able to keep up the energy, which was before them? It's always a hard
that's a fair point.
thing to do. So usually giving them an ending slot or something like that, which can be very good in Austria. Like, don't get me wrong. We have ending slots where I've played to full rooms and I've played like 2-hour liquid sets, ending slot to like 4 to 6 in the morning, and people were all dancing. Like that can happen
That sounds
too. You never know.
amazing.
You never
Yeah,
know.
I need that. I need that in my life. That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Man, that was a crazy night as well. I recall going out with Vortex. We played at the club in Kufstein, which is like 100 kilometers away from where I live,
Hmm.
like 150 probably even. And we played there from 10 to 2, from 10 to 12. And then there was like midnight coming up, and we said, yeah, let's drive up to Innsbruck. We still have a set to go. Let's grab a beer and play the second set of the night. The first one was also like we played intro. It was stacked. Like half an hour after the club opened up, there was a dance floor full. We played like everything from dance floor, deep minimal liquid, halftime dubstep. It's a crazy night. And then we said, yeah, 4 to 6 Aztec's gonna be fucking dead. And then we got into there. There was like 5 people standing in there. I said, yeah, usually. And then right when we started, like 5 minutes before we got onto the decks, there was like the room filled up. I think I was rolling a ciggy or something like that. And then there was like the room stacked to the brim. I was like, okay, let's go. And then we just played like a liquid ending 2 hours, and people were dancing and smiling. It was like, I think one of the best sets I've ever played. One of the best sets I've ever played, definitely.
We need more opportunities like that. We need opportunities where liquid is appreciated.
Yeah. I mean, you got to kind of work your way towards it. For anyone wanting to play liquid in their sets, I feel there's like a thumb rule where you can say, play 2 like tracks that go well with the crowd, and then play a liquid track. And if they receive the liquid track well, maybe only play 1 harder tune and then a liquid tune again, like blend them in, vary with your styles. Don't just strictly play something similar. And I think that works out very good. Like from my experience, if I switch it up enough, like you can basically play anything. Like I've played dubstep to a Neurofunk crowd. I've played like 1985 dubstep to a Neurofunk crowd, and they went off. It's just like how you do it.
Yeah, I agree with that because, you know, I started maybe about a year ago. I started trying to make my sets have like a mix of liquid and deep, and I found out that the trick for me to get them all to work cohesively was to make sure you're periodically bringing in some nostalgia as well. And so, every 6 or 7 tunes or whatever, you give them something that they know that they can sing along to, or that they reckon that's a classic or whatever. And that keeps them kind of engaged enough that you can then go around the triangle a little bit. And that's been wicked for me because it means I get to play the music that I love and people enjoy it when I play it, which is great. So I definitely would offer that tip to anybody that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started out DJing, I was like into a lot of stuff. I was not that straightforward with music as I am nowadays. But I had that IAS, do you know IAS replay? Shawty's like a melody, you know that one?
Oh yeah.
I had that gray bootleg from the dub pack on there, and there was people fucking writing me on Instagram if I'm playing that tune tonight. Like they were asking me to do it because they knew every set that tune would come. And at some point, I was playing a set and all the people wrote me before, like 2 or 3 people. It's like crazy. Like who the fuck asked you to play a bootleg of something you didn't even produce? And I didn't play it that night. And the time I looked into the crowd, I was seeing these disappointed faces. And that was the moment I said, okay, maybe I stop playing bootlegs. Like I don't really want to be known for playing bootlegs when I have all that great music on my USB. That's where I kind of switched away from bootlegs. And funnily enough, I picked up on it again because my friend Actress, Leon, made some very funny bootlegs of tunes. So yeah. He made like a bootleg from Katy Perry, California Girls.
Oh yes,
Snoop Dogg.
Oh, I need to hear this. You need to let me hear this.
I gotta ask him if I'm able to send it out because that's the biggest shit show of a tune there is.
Is it?
Yeah.
If it lands on the dance floor, though, that's what you want.
It's way too well produced for what it is. Like.
Yeah. Well, Acris was it Acris and Dub 10 that put out some tunes together on Empathy? There's like a 4-tracker that was.
Yeah, there was a 4-track EP, a collaborative EP, like 2 solo tracks and 2 collab tracks. That EP went fucking
That was
nuts,
really good.
Man. That EP.
Yeah, it was really good.
I think it was like 5 weeks in the charts. Yeah, 5 or 6 weeks, man. It was crazy. When we brought out the Surveillance VA Alloy was still ranked better than some VA tunes, which was like, didn't understand it at all. But
Did you
yeah,
have a feeling it was going to do well, or was it a surprise that it did that well?
funnily enough, I know dub 10 tunes go well because of Justifice's reputation now, but I actually thought like Flutter from Acris would have been the top tune of DVA because it has that catchy bass line. Funny enough, it was the worst sold tune of the EP. Still good. I mean, it got sold plenty, but I would have thought that this was like the title tune basically. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I played the most.
Yeah, Flutter is sick. I love that tune.
Yeah. So which one did best?
It was Aloy. AK-47, actually, everyone had like a different thing. Gap said AK-47's got a bang. I think AK-47 was the second least sold tune of the EP by far. Like, Aloy got so many more sales than everything else on that EP. So crazy. And I don't know why.
I just weren't expecting it. Yeah.
I can't figure it out.
Oh, there's the secret to success then, figuring that out. And
yeah, I always make so much, like, I always think about that so much, like, which tune should be the title tune, which tune should be the focus of the release. And I'm never right. I swear to God.
I agree. Me and Harry Jinbu, we have this all the time where it's always the other one. Like if it's a 2-tracker and I pick which one's the A side, I always get it wrong. The second track always sells better.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I guess it's just like a personal thing, man. If I like tunes, which people tell me if I'm dead serious about liking that tune, but I say, yeah, it's nice. I love it, but I have a very weird taste in drum and bass sometimes.
yeah. Well, if you listen to as much as you do, then you kind of learn what you like, right?
Yeah.
What's some aspirations you'd have? Are you an aspirational person for the brand, or are you more of like a go with the flow kind of guy? Do you have some things you'd like Empathy to achieve, or are you just along for the ride?
Definitely. I mean, in every project, I have like a different goal. Like one project is the goal of like building a community. One goal for the other one is like building a big brand for big events and making that successful. But with Empathy, I think we're kind of evolving nicely, you know? I think we could do some more. We could make like merch and vinyls and stuff. And I think where we're at right now, it's very nice. And we just need to figure out that A&R thing a little bit more, like getting some unique tunes signed. And I think we're doing a great job if that happens.
So is that going to be a focus for the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, I think about Hospital Records releasing all these tunes back in the day, like Together and what else it is, like the spy tracks back in the day, the big tunes. Like, how did they A&R this? Like, how did they get these tunes? I never get like tunes which I think they have like the potential to go fucking big, you know, like all the way up to the Beatport #1 and stay in there for a long time. I think the main problem is we sign music which is like cool for a couple weeks mostly, but it doesn't stay relevant long enough, you know, like over years or even over a decade, something like that.
But what do you think it is that's the difference between those two things? Because my opinion is that's down to the big established names that people know about. That's what generates the like good longevity. I think the music being short-lived is just the nature of the fact that we are, when I say we, like the scene it's kind of less household names now because there's so many, but those names like Subfocus, you know, like Evolve is still in the charts like 5 years later, right? And so I don't know how, even if you had a tune that was like as good or better than some of those things, I don't think it's the music that would drive it to have that longevity.
I think it's also the amount of output the scene has at the moment. Like there's so much stuff coming out. Like I still play like old Marcus Intellects tunes nowadays, and not just because they are like Marcus Intellects from 2004, but because they still have, you know, something that other tunes don't really give you. The repetitiveness and the catchiness from some stuff and like the feeling the tunes had overall. I think it's also something which is like, I need to produce something now and I need to release it as fast as I can and not make it an anthem anymore, you know? Like it doesn't happen too much anymore.
Like, what do you think about the balance between, because I think if we put more music out more often as a label, we'd build the brand quicker, and then therefore the music that comes in the future has a better chance of doing better, like individually. But then I also think it the opposite, because that would also cause like devaluation, and it would hurt the longevity of that stuff. So I'm like stuck and thinking, okay, once a month, one release a month is like the limit, because if we go any more than that, then we're just going to create a problem. But then I see other labels like Overview or Flex Out, they put out more than once a month, and their stuff always does really well. So I don't know what the right answer is. I wonder if you have an opinion.
I think labels like Flex Out, they get sent so much music that they can keep up the quality while they do the quantity. And we as smaller labels, we can't really keep up the quantity and the quality. We can do like quality, but no quantity, or quantity or no quality sometimes. Like, I don't think we have enough artists on the label to do 2 releases a month, because that's just
what
not
about
gonna
if you
happen.
split out though? Because like me, you guys do a lot of 4-track releases, but it's like, what if you split them up into singles?
I don't really like singles, to be honest. We're doing 2 singles now, and I don't really like the process of doing singles. I think having a larger project benefits the whole release, like if you're doing 4 tracks, you have 4 premiere platforms. You can like go one with DB spread, one with Skank and Bass, one with Forbidden Frequencies, and one with Studio, Liquid Drum and Bass for the winner, or something like that. I think that pushes the project even more. Like, you have more traction on a single project rather than splitting it up on 2 and having like mediocre response to 2 releases. That's what I'm thinking, to be honest. Like, I think 4 tracks are always better than like releasing a single. Only if you have like 2 fucking bangers. Like, if you have 2 bangers, release them as like 2 tracks or a single. Or if you have one standout track, release them as a single. It definitely makes sense. But I don't think releasing singles or spreading everything out into like more releases with less tracks is beneficial for a label.
From my point of view as well, I'm also much more likely to make mistakes, right? Because it's just a hobby, it's to do it outside of work. Take it seriously, but it's busy, and it's got to share priority of stuff. And when you've got to do many things like that, it's too easy to make a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I like EPs. I just like the idea of having like 4 tracks which belong together, like more of a listening experience also, even for club-oriented tunes. If you're listening for a good EP, I like it. It's way more artsy than like a single, which most of the time doesn't have like the relation as an EP does.
That's true. I think it also gives more of a chance to like talk about the person behind it, because, if you've got 4 tracks and you've got 1 release in a month, you've got a bit more time to market it. And like, you can go a bit deeper into the kind of behind the scenes with the person or things like that, which is nice. I think that's the key to being able to get people to connect with the music as well, and hopefully then that leads to it doing well.
Like, the thing about promoting releases, I think most of the time labels do too much beforehand, like before the release date. That's something I definitely want to tell you something about, because I don't know how long before do you go like online with releases. Like,
so I agree with you, and like that's something that I've tried to work on a little bit 2025, because if I look back at last year, I would start promoting 2 weeks before, into like public promotion 2 weeks before, and then by the time the record comes out, I've kind of run out of stuff to market, and so 3 or 4 days after it's available, I've run out of shit to market. So I've kind of tried to step it back a little bit now and do start like some lightweight stuff a week and a half before, but then I'm trying to do more after the release now as well, like give more opportunities to keep talking about it after the release, because pre-saves is pre-saves, and your goal for that is to drive people to pre-save, because then that helps algorithmically, and if our releases are like maybe a little bit more listener friendly, that would make sense. But then at the same time, until somebody can actually buy the record, it's almost pointless promoting it. So, I think you're right. I agree with you. And I have been trying to figure out what the hell to do to have more things to talk about for a longer period of time after it comes out. So any advice you've got, man, I'm listening.
We usually do EPs 1 week before now, like start 1 week before with singles and EPs. Depends on when we get the premiere dates. Usually we also premiere like at least 1 tune after release date. Like, we only try to get it featured like not premiering it
Oh,
before
interesting. You're
release.
like actually trying to.
Yeah,
You're trying to get stuff done after release date.
yeah, one tune maybe
That's
sometimes,
interesting.
because that's the point where I thought about, like, I want to have the traction after the release date, you know? Like, I don't want to have the traction
Hmm.
before the release. I know Skank and Bass doesn't do like premieres after the release date, only if they have no dates left. But some brands, they actually work with you and they do releases after they do premieres after the release, which is nice
Hmm.
because it kind of pushes the algorithm another time, and you're
Mm.
gonna be in the charts longer, because when you're hitting the SoundCloud algorithm with tunes and they make like 3, 4, 5K streams, there's like loads of people downloading that, and that helps you like getting that release, like after release traction.
It's a really good point, man. It's a really valid point.
Yeah, always try
Um,
to get like one feature, like one upload after the release date.
That's good advice. I'm taking that on board for sure.
Yeah, because I haven't talked about that. That's something I want to add up. Metal has been my biggest inspiration ever since I started listening drum and bass when I was 12 years old. I was playing Call of Duty, and you know, like Call of Duty trick shotting, where you spin around in a circle and try to shoot someone from a mile away. Yeah, that's something I
Yeah.
did, and I was also pretty invested in the scene. I had like clans I joined, and like clans with 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's also like something where the Instagram thing comes from.
Yeah.
I always try to be like influential and have like big stuff going on. And that's where I heard from Maddock and Tantrum Desire for the first time, was like the Reach VIP. I was like, what the fuck is that music, man? Like, what is this? Is this dubstep? No, that's not dubstep. That sounds different, because I wasn't the Skrillex at that time. The bass lines and the fast drums, and I was like, yeah, okay. And like, I think 5 years after, I was listening to everything drum and bass. Like, I was listening to Marcus Intellects, Alex Perez before I even went to my first rave, and like Medoc and all the dance floor stuff. And it was like I was listening to everything, Jump Up and stuff. And my like Nico, who was a good friend already before we made music, he said, yeah, okay, we're gonna go to Zurich tonight, like Switzerland. I was like, what are we doing in Zurich? And he was like, yeah, there's like hospitality going on. And I was like, now what's hospitality, man? I never heard of that. And
Yeah.
then he showed me like the logo with the H on it. I was like, oh, damn, what the fuck? And he bought us all tickets, and I was like underage still. I was 17 and clubs were 18.
Did you
And
get it?
we drove 3 hours, man. And then we stood in front of there, because in Austria, it's like 16 plus most of the time. I was like going in there, and I was like, fuck, I'm 17. And he was like, yeah, okay, you can wait outside till your friends go in, and you can wait outside. I was like, no, man, we drove like 3.5 hours into here. Like, please let me in. I'm such a huge fan. And eventually he said, if I see you drinking a beer, you're gonna get kicked out and never coming back in again. I was like only drinking Red Bull for the whole night. Like, I was there like just
Worth it
dancing.
though, man.
But it was London Electricity and Metric, which was a very good first party. Not really much people get to have a good party like this for their first one. And I came back home, and I instantly searched for like raves in Austria, and I was like going everywhere. And sometimes the music didn't feel good to me. It was like very hard neurofunk. Eventually there was like Skeptical playing in Innsbruck, and that's where I met so many people. Like the guy we run in motion with, Andy Brunner, Splitter. He's like an MC and DJ
Yeah.
and promoter. And I saw him MCing up there, and Skeppy was playing, and there was like, I didn't even know what was going on there. It was Ivy Lab playing a halftime set. I was like, what the fuck is this music, man? And that's probably the day I realized that there's more to it than what I ever think it was. There was like 1,000 people in there.
Well, I'm glad you got let into that club then, because that, getting in and I can't drink. That's fine. Like that's okay.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
okay with
fine.
that. I'm here
I was
for music,
okay with
right?
that. I was 17 at the moment. I didn't really care about drinking too much. I just wanted to hear some music, and I wanted to know what it was
Yeah.
like. I couldn't imagine what was going on in there. You know, I was going in there. It looked like normally from the outside, but inside there were so many people like just dancing and stuff. And at the start, I didn't really know how to move. I was like trying to do this and stuff.
Yeah, I
It
remember
was like
this. Yeah,
very weird. It was like very weird in there. And the people were like,
I remember.
They were like making happy moves with their faces. Like, I did not know what this was at that time. You know, I really had no idea. We never. I come from a rural village. We don't really talk about drugs here, so.
I think so. One thing that I've always really liked about drum and bass events is generally there's acceptance of people enjoying themselves in whatever way they want to enjoy themselves. And like that's changed for me as I've got older and enjoyed different things in life. And I'm glad that that's still the case. You know, even now you go to an event and people are doing different things or whatever they want to do. Some people are sober, some people are not. And I think that's okay. And that's a good thing. Like if you just go out to like a nightclub in the city where it's like music and beers and girls and boys and whatever, like you don't really have that kind of same vibe. And for me, that's why I first got into drum and bass. Was it was cool. It was fun to be able to be in a place where everybody just kind of let everybody be what they are. And hopefully we still carry on doing that for another 20 odd years or something like that.
Yeah, man. Hopefully. Definitely. Fingers crossed that our new politic situation is not closing down every club in the fucking city.
But yeah.
And we also had a re-election. We also had a re-election, which doesn't look too good for us, to be honest.
Yeah, I think things are looking so in a similar direction in many places at the moment, which is kind
we
of
have like a right-wing parliament now in the UK.
Yeah, not at the moment. No, not right now. But yeah, if we were to have an election tomorrow, then yeah, we'd have the kind of nationalist,
because
aggressive type parliament. Yeah,
that's what we have now in Austria, and it's worrying. It's worrying from like a social standpoint. But
it's happening all over Europe, right? Sweden's the same, Finland's the same.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like, I think it's like trendy to be racist or something like that nowadays.
Fuck's sake, yeah. Sadly, yeah.
Yeah.
New Zealand the same. New Zealand had their elections last year and they voted in a nationalist party.
It's like an island thing because they usually are not worried about people getting into their country. But when people get into their country, because they're on an island, they're like, what the fuck? Why are other people here than us? And then they just try to kick everyone off the island.
I mean, God, without getting too like personal, I just don't even think it's really that true. Like, if we just use America as an example, right? They've got this whole thing about build a wall, send everyone back. Like, it's like less than 1% of the population.
Yeah,
it's not really the cause of the problems, is it? It's just it's something to point at and be like, that's what's causing you.
Yeah, people are picking up.
That's why the bread's expensive.
People are picking up on it easy because, like, you know, all the propaganda and all that stuff. Like,
yeah, exactly, yeah. And nobody reads history anymore, man. Nobody looks to see, like, oh, we've been through this cycle before. We should probably wake up and not let this happen again.
Yeah.
Which is shit.
Yeah.
Hey, on the good news, there's a ceasefire in Palestine, so, you know, we should be thankful for stuff like that.
Yeah. It's like a little shiny light at the end of the tunnel, but the never-ending tunnel. The never-ending tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, well, it is late. I've got work tomorrow. You might do as well.
Yeah, I do.
So I'm gonna be the old man in the room and say it's my bedtime. So I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go to the desktop and still get some work to do, but
good on you, man. I appreciate your drive. It's impressive.
Yeah, someone's gonna do it. That's what I say always. Like, if no one else gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. So
I rate that. You'll go far. You're already going far. But once again, George, man, I appreciate you coming to chat, and I wish you guys all the success for the 2025.
Thank you for having me.